Here's a story that I want you to bear in mind as you're listening to this vlog. See what way that it relates and connects. Yeah, it's from a Douglas Adams book. I think it's The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. And there is this guy who makes it his life mission to explore all the alien civilizations in the universe. He's got his own little private spaceship. It's just him, and he has a clipboard. And he goes from one planet to the next. He lands his spacecraft. The alien civilization look up at him, goggle-eyed. He walks down the gangplank, takes one good look at them all, gets out his flip chart. Yeah, arseholes. He gets back up the gangplank, pulls up the hatch, alien's still looking at him goggle-eyed, and off he flies to the next planet. Idiots. So hi there folks, Alex Forrest here vlogging to you from a Central European location, sweltering 15 degrees centigrade above zero in Warsaw, Poland, would you believe. I've just actually been to Belarus, spent Christmas there with a buddy, and actually had a few dates as well. I'll tell you what, the further east you go, there's a whole different set of kind of cultural, assumptions that apply. A whole kind of different cultural imperative that it applies to the wonderful feminine world the further east you go. It's not just a meteorological phenomenon, it's also a sort of a social and cultural phenomenon that you experience, and it's quite different dating Russian girls than it is from Polish girls, let alone girls in the West or in the United States. Goodness gracious me, I would be a fish out of water in the United States, or even in Blighty, even in my home country these days. So I'm going to crack on with a absolutely critical topic. It is the start of a new year. It's time to take those gloves off and to aim for the bullseye with this vlog and deal with the topic of morality, ethics, and sprinkled with your usual lovable anecdotes from yours truly, and you're going to wrap up and try and sort of keep it real. I will first deal with a couple of administrative matters, if you like. I've had a couple of requests from guys who want me to do a vlog on the law. There's a bill going through Parliament at the moment which is trying to make which is creating a new law basically relating to approaching or harassing girls in the street. I will have a look at the detail of that, and obviously I'm a lawyer and I'll be doing a vlog over the next few weeks on that topic. Also, don't forget, I've got a style video in the in the cutting room. It's not yet completed because we just did so much work shooting different locations. I really wanted to make it a great video. It's with a stylist that I've been using in Warsaw, a young Ukrainian woman called Anna, and it's really interesting how it has become such kind of an important and integral part of my life now to deal with style and fashion. In fact, when I was in Belarus, Minsk, I was dating a girl a younger and hotter girl than me, and I had a buddy message me saying, yeah, I'm not surprised that you're having success over there, mate, because you look sharp, which was quite a sweet compliment, particularly from this gentleman who's got high standards himself. And I will, just at the very end, deal with future approach courses. How do I start this topic? It's a year on since a very great friend of mine passed away. I've been working on a tribute book, and thank you for everyone who sent through tributes. It's taken a long time to put this book together. but we wanted to get it right. And some of the tributes, actually a lot of the tributes I'm reading are from girls as well as guys, and actually from some dudes and dudesses in the Swiss mountains who just knew Tom as a friend and a trainee ski instructor. But a lot of these tributes talk about, from the other side, if you know what I mean. I'm now married with a kid, and Tom has changed my life, frankly. Some of these guys never met Tom, just followed his material. This material, incidentally, is available as a YouTube channel, which, the official Tom Torero YouTube channel, that is gradually in a chronological order uploading those videos. I'll link it in the description box below. So all of this has got me reflecting on a year on something's been troubling me, and that is around this issue of going down the rabbit hole, filming, recording girls without their consent, this kind of a thing, and whether or not, as the title suggests, there's kind of a danger of going down a rabbit hole all the way to Australia, and actually, is that what we want to be doing? Do we want to be idolizing someone who is leading the way down deep down into the dark depths, a dungeon place of that rabbit hole, or is there some other alternative as we look into a new year? And this is, a constantly important issue for me, to make sure that I'm being true to myself, that I'm happy with what I'm doing. I think the very first place I'd like to start with is the Old Testament. I mean, why not dust off the Old Testament and have a little look? Because in terms of leading your life, you want a bit of a touchstone, So let's have a look at the Old Testament and the 10 Commandments. You know what? The 10 Commandments, I mean, this is just a flipping, kind of conduct manual for the Israelites. It's not, forgive me, but you accuse the Old Testament. The 10 Commandments, I mean, you have a look at them. Don't covet your neighbour's goat. Don't, murder. All right, got that. Don't steal. All right, just about got that. All right, don't worship false gods. What's all that about? Don't bear false witness to your neighbour. Well, anyone really. You don't want to, lie. I couldn't find really much in the 10 Commandments that I would want to use as a touchstone for the way to lead my life in the moral and ethical area. Just a manual for the Israelites to cement the nation together. Well, fine, that's great. Everyone's got their rule books, but I'm not going to be using that as a touchstone, thank you very much. So I found myself, and this just popped into my head, and I went and had a look at the reference. I think one of the most important touchstones, if not the most important touchstone for leading a life, and in terms of what we guys do, in terms of approaching and dating and having beautiful relationships with girls, is do to others as you would have them do unto you. There's a beautiful simplicity about it. Jesus, that old dude, he said, this is the law of the prophets. It's like this is perhaps one of the most fundamental, if you're looking for a touchstone, one of the most fundamental that there are. And I bet this runs across all religions, all spirituality, is this principle. Now I want to have a little look at what's going on in the world, because there are a lot of people out there who in Oscar Wilde's immortal words, for them, morality is a weapon to be used against people you don't like. That's often the way it's deployed. Now, if you are in the media or in television and radio, and you're part of the mass media, and you've got you're a bit of a social crusader, you've got this missionary zeal. That, for me, is really dangerous territory. Because what you're doing is you are attempting to destroy not just someone's reputation, not just someone's life, make their life hell. You're also damaging their friends and their family, and you're creating this duality, this us and them. And now, use that touchstone. Would you really want that done to you? Life's not complicated. Will you really want you to have your life destroyed, someone to attempt to destroy your life? One of my favourite films is Zorba the Greek, because that you can trust the writers and the artists of the world to hit at the truth and deliver it through story. A story won't work unless it hits at the truth. Same with comedy, same with tragedy. And in Zorba the Greek, and particularly this clip,
people as proud, as cruel, as revengeful, as murderous as their barren, mountainous homeland.
You see how society, a community, loves nothing more than to weaponize morality. Yeah, this dude, the young hero of the movie, has had a little dalliance with a widow. I mean, she's not even committing adultery. Yeah, so she's not even got in trouble with the Israelites. And here she is having her throat cut. Yeah, and there you see the pack mentality. And this is why another good touchstone is whatever the majority thinks is right is probably wrong. Here you see the weaponization of morals and ethics to hurt people who you fear, who are a threat to you. I mean, particularly the older, uglier women, probably the ones who picked up the stones first. Yeah, and the ones in unhappy marriages. And this, for me, is whether it's society doing it, whether it's respectable journalism doing it, whether it's just a family member, whether it's an online hater, whether it's a troll in his underpants, in his basement, in Milton Keynes, and he's got nothing better to do with his life than, have a go at everybody else. It's all about the weaponization of morals, isn't it? And for me, the real, that absolutely contradicts the principle of doing to others as you have them do unto yourself. If only we, in approaching anything in life, if only we put that yardstick first, yeah, if only. Now what's going on here? It's, you lift the lid on it and you tinker around in the engine, and you start to realise, and this is why I think this is the most reprehensible conduct that any human person can engage in, is the weaponisation of morality. It's so insidious and so sinister, so vicious at times as well. Another film that I really admire is, I've forgotten its name. What is it called? American Beauty. And here you have a story about a guy. The film opens with him as a spirit. Yeah, he'd just been murdered, and you wonder why. Of course, you don't learn why until the very end of the movie, when you see that the ex-army sergeant, colonel, who's been living next door to him all this time, who's not a central character, is clearly struggling with his homosexuality. He's a closet homosexual. He's in the military and he's never come out. And his way of dealing with his problem, his conflict, born of whatever it is, his time in the military or his childhood or his father, whatever it might be, is sadly by trying to destroy others in order to destroy his own pain. told you it was going to be a bullet between the eyes today. Yeah, and this is the, as psychologists fond of labelling, projection. Yeah, you are dealing with your pain by suffocating it and projecting it on others. And all of us, the majority of us, are dealing with demons. Yeah, life is hard enough, thank you very much, without people, particularly those who've acquired sort of a status in for example, in the media or politicians or whatever it might be. This is a particularly nasty and dangerous form of dealing with demons. Yeah. And it's really difficult to warm to these people. Have you noticed? It's very difficult to feel any sort of an attraction with a woman who's got this missionary zeal, particularly in the area if they're sort of anti-white males who do something perfectly normal and natural in accordance with their nature, which is to go up to attractive girls and strike up conversations with a view to a romantic relationship. Yeah, I don't like that. So when you lift this particular bonnet and you tinker around in the engine, your hands are going to get pretty dirty. Yeah, with what's going on there. And that is a car that's going to need a right royal overhaul. However, I'm going to roll in a. It wasn't very good, was it? Ching, boom. I'm going to roll in a butt here. The other side of this coin is the danger that guys who are interested in flipping their lives round in this era of women in dating, the danger that they face. Because what distinguishes us from the haters is our ability to eyeball our own failings in a reasonable way. Yeah, not in a self-flagellation way, but in a reasonable way. Now, quite frankly, to put it bluntly, if I've learned anything over this last year, it is that don't go down the rabbit hole with this stuff. Yeah. And Tom was such a paradox because he was such a great guy, he was such good company, he was such an inspiration. Everything that you need to know and learn about how to approach and date women, and yes, how to master things in the bedroom too, because that's an important part of the whole dating dance, is in Tom's podcasts and Tom's vlogs, yeah, and Tom's books. And, it's all there. And yet the paradox is that he went down the rabbit hole and he never really came out. Such an impulsive and determined action man. It's like his own strength was a weakness, meant that he went too far. Yeah. Now, and that is not a good place to be, because this stuff is not a way of life. It's not a permanent way of life. I used to think that, well, yeah, there are some mavericks and Casanovas in the world, and that's part of the kind of the rich tapestry of life, isn't it? Probably are, but if anybody was that Casanova maverick and lone wolf, it would have been Tom, Mr. Torero. And yet, he clearly was not happy with that. And and there was part of him, as there is with most of the viewers of my channel, if not all, that wanted connection on a longer term basis, wanted relationship, yeah, and also ended up going too far, too deep. It's to such an extent that I think it was he felt it to be a checkmate position where he couldn't come out, he couldn't extricate himself, he was too far down. Now, it's so interesting that and that's in a way the only mistake that he made. I don't have any moral or ethical judgments about his sex life. Where I do have a problem is in two areas. One is guys who have idealised Tom and put him on a pedestal, and we're all been a little bit guilty of that to various degrees, yeah. And I've noticed that there are some guys who refuse to accept that Tom has died, yeah. Now, for a while, I've had comments about that, and guys who expressed their opinions to me about that, and I'm like, duh. I've actually been involved in, not going to go into it, but Tom is dead. But there are guys who refuse to believe it. And what's so interesting here is it's a bit like I was talking earlier about this projection problem, is that there's also this other problem of people who got big hearts often, this particular category of person, loving their followers, they are inspired by people, and that's a danger too, to the point at which they become in denial. What's often happening actually is these guys may have gone down too far down the rabbit hole themselves, or they're afraid that they have. Rather than address that issue and deal with it and come out of it, they refuse to. They're in denial about it. Denial is not a river in Africa, my friend. Yeah, and that's an equal danger. I mean, it's something that I find I love these guys. I love the idea and the dream that Tom is on an island off the coast of Costa Rica with a harem of beauties, sipping cocktails and going kite surfing and having magical sun-soaked sex in the evenings as the sun sets over the Caribbean Atlantic, wherever. Wouldn't we we don't want to let go of our dreams, and we particularly don't want to let them go when they're wrapped up with a human being who is as much of an inspiration as Torero was. Yeah. But this is the thing, you see, this is the path of knowledge. It's to strip away the untruth and to really see things clearly for what they are. Now, I said that there were two dangers, as it were. The other danger is the danger of, and this is actually to touch on the law. I've always found this is a bit of a paradox. You had this Scottish Daygamer, what's his name, Daygame, who was, I mean, he served a lot of time in prison, having been convicted of a Public Order Act type harassment-y like Scottish piece of statute law, before the Scottish Court of Appeal overthrew the conviction. Yeah, ridiculous. The idea of approaching a stranger being a criminal offence is absurd, and the higher court judge realised that the lower court judge was just a kangaroo court type situation. But what I found interesting was that they charged him on the basis of approaching girls, harassment in the street, but they couldn't prosecute him for filming girls privately without their consent in the bedroom. Yeah, for me that's far the bigger moral issue, because if you come back to the touchstone, do to others as you would have them do unto you, would you really want to be filmed privately I wouldn't want to be filmed privately having a conversation in the pub, let alone with my clothes off in a bedroom. And how much more embarrassing and challenging for a woman, yeah. And yet the law is arse about it. They couldn't prosecute him under privacy because the laws don't support that type of charge. And yet, for me, that for me is a big problem. And I get guys say, "Oh, you're not the real deal. You don't, I've never seen you approach a girl." Well, here's a clip of a girl on a date who gave me her consent to use it on my channel, incidentally. And I might have a couple of others of approaches that might be okay. I did transgress as I recorded a conversation. I was with an American girl on a date a couple of years ago now, and she was talking about what women find interesting in men, and I just couldn't resist pressing the voice record on my phone as she was talking, because it was just so interesting. And unfortunately, I never got her contact details because she was flying back to North America to ask her for her permission. Anyway, a minor transgression and such golden knowledge from basically just an audio of someone I'll never see again and someone will never listen to my channel, that I thought it wasn't an invasion of privacy to make that publicly available. So that for me is the bigger issue. But I mean, in terms of the privacy side, I've always had a problem with that, and that's why I'm really uncomfortable. I feel like a bit of a moralizer. But for me, as harmless as it is in many senses, actually sort of doing too much intrusive type recording without people's permission, particularly in intimate situation, perhaps it's not so bad in public, is just unacceptable, because put yourself into the shoes of that other person. By the same token, what's also interesting is if you apply that touchstone to approaching a girl, during the daytime, or at night time, whatever setting, and you apply that same principle, actually I will be delighted to be approached and chatted up by a hot girl. You know what I mean? And we all know from our experience that very few occasions, unless we're being real oddballs or robots, or just basically socially uncalibrated, putting our foot in our mouths, it's usually just a simple accident. There's never a situation in which a girl isn't actually delighted to at least have got a compliment from a guy. So I just, as I begin to wrap up this vlog, I think that, the worst thing that you can do is to weaponize morality in order to avoid dealing with your own hatred or anger, your own issues. But the cure to not getting annoyed and angry and going on the attack yourself is knowledge, and also achieving real success in your life, according to your own terms of what that success means. Fantastic success in your life, as many of these guys who have emailed us tributes clearly have. I'm not saying their lives are now perfect, or their marriages are perfect, but there's some beautiful anecdotes that I'd love to share, but it's not appropriate. But guys who've got themselves settled in relationships and have children and seem to have a happy marriage, and so much happier for the fact that they have been like space cadets, launched into the stratosphere, circled the planet Earth a few times, got a perspective, got a knowledge on the area of women, and that's made them better able to manage their relationships. And the key is that they've not gone all the way to Alpha Centauri and down a black hole, have they? And this is the irony of it all. It's what we do. it's like taking a little bit of the poison in order to cure the poison. You know, the antidote is the poison itself. One of my favourite expressions is the thorn, to remove a thorn, and then when it's done its work, you throw both thorns away. We've got to be really clear that going forward, that this stuff is a rite of passage for us. It's not the end goal. And as I say, the flip side of the haters is this going down the rabbit hole too far, actually coupling your identity with being a seducer or a day gamer, and it's a particularly dangerous path to travel. And you've got to be careful if you're working in this area professionally. Absolutely fine if you're working in this area professionally, but you do have to be awake to where you are personally going, because it ain't gonna. The sad and hard truth is, and it's visible for everybody to see, is don't end up living down that rabbit hole. Yeah. And you know, it's very simple. All you're learning is simple skills that you shouldn't spend a lifetime obsessing over. Yeah, how to approach attractive women and have flirtatious conversations and go on dates. Yeah, and that's what this is all about. It's not massive rocket science. It takes practice and application. You don't need an Old Testament sized rule book to do it. You need to be taking action, as Tom said, like 90% action, 10% reading. I just wanted to finally say that I was really pleased with the first 2 dating approach courses that we did in the autumn of last year. I've had quite a few guys email who are interested in doing another. I wasn't going to do anything before the spring, but I'm now wondering whether or not we should do something perhaps as early March or something like that. If you are interested, please do email me. And if you've got comments, by the way, I do read the YouTube comments. I don't have time to respond to them individually, but if you really want a response from me, then email me, and if I've got time, eventually I will get round to responding. Please be patient. Or book a 1-hour Skype call with me. All right, well, Happy New Year to you guys. Greetings from Warsaw. I hope to see a few of you, a sprinkling of you in the new year.